Warning, like I said, these are rude. If you want mild, go back to part 1, because these, if you use them, chances are your relationship will not come back from that. So for example, I don't recommend using these with a friend if you still want to stay friends. If you're not sure how to handle confrontation, listen up, I have some tips. Hi, I'm Day. I'm a social skills coach and I give advice on how to navigate social situations and avoid social awkwardness. And if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, click the link in my bio. Now, the thing about handling confrontation is it's very much a read the room type of thing, because there's different types of confrontation, so you can't handle all confrontation the same way. For example, there's confrontation where you need to have a tough conversation with a loved one, like a parent, a family member, partner, friend, or they need to have one with you, and you need to plan out what you're going to say in advance. And there's also confrontation that happens on the spot and you have to know what to do. There's also healthy confrontation and there's unhealthy confrontation, and I'm going to teach you how to handle all types that I just mentioned. So I'm going to start with confrontation where you need to plan what you're going to say. So the best way to do it, very simple, very direct. You go to the person, best if you do it in person, and you say, hey, so-and-so, can I speak to you? And they'll either say yes, or if they're busy, you can say, oh, what would be a better time? And then at that time, you just say directly what you have to say. Hey, around this time, you did X and I felt Y. For example, on Wednesday, you said that only dorks and losers still watch cartoons as an adult. I felt hurt because I still watch cartoons as an adult, and so I felt like you were calling me a dork or a loser to my face. Now, how a healthy person should respond, so either them or you, if you're on the receiving end of this kind of conversation, they should first acknowledge how the person is feeling. So that would look like, oh, you know what? I can totally see how that'd be hurtful. You apologize. I am so sorry I said that. And then you agree to rectify the situation or change the behavior going forward. So altogether, it would look like, oh, you know what, I can see how that's hurtful. I just said a thoughtless thing, but you know what, I apologize, and I will never say anything like that again. Now, you don't have to beat yourself up and be like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe this, that. Because actually beating yourself up when taking accountability, that just takes it too far. That takes it from being accountable to it's kind of like you're expecting the other person to make you feel better, is how it can come across, and it can even come across as disingenuous and weaken your apology. But the key is ownership, accountability, and no I'm sorry, but no trying to defend what you did unless there was a genuine misunderstanding, but impact over intent. Your impact is what matters way more than what you actually intended. So that's how you handle a conversation that you need to have in advance. Now, here's how you handle a confrontation that happens right in the moment and you need to respond on the spot. So with the on-the-spot confrontations, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with mild and I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive each time. Because again, like I said, different methods for different situations. So if you're in the moment and somebody says something that's kind of out of pocket, maybe a friend's being snarky, maybe someone makes a joke that hits too close to home, or maybe this is someone you don't know that well, but you don't want to immediately come out guns blazing and look overly dramatic. You can signal that a line was crossed with nonverbal cues. You can give them a weird look, or if you want to say something, you can start with, whoa. If you want to add a little bit more assertiveness or aggression to it, you can say, hey, whoa. Chill out. One of those phrases. Those one-word phrases are good because they kind of act like warning shots to the other person and the other people around you to signal hey, I didn't like what happened. That was not cool. But without being all guns blazing and doing too much. Now, a good thing about those one-word phrases too is that not only does it serve as a warning shot, but it also buys you time to think about how you want to address the situation. Because naturally, most of the time you say, whoa, or hey, they're going to follow up with what? Or they're going to follow up with what's wrong? Or if they meant to disrespect you, they're going to be like, what? Hey, what? Or something like that. So after they respond, then you can very simply say, hey, that was too far, or that wasn't cool. Don't talk to me like that. That wasn't funny. That was rude. That was condescending. Fit it to the situation. What's also good is, like I said, Depending on how the person responds, they might respond like, what? Or what? Like their tone, their body language, their face, that's going to indicate, that will help you figure out their intent, because sometimes people do say things and they don't realize how it's going to come across. And sometimes they mean exactly the offense they intended. So you'll be able to gauge their intent, and then that will determine how you can respond, how you respond from there. Or if you want to, you can completely skip the warning shot, whoa or hey, or you can just jump directly to, that was rude. I didn't appreciate that. Please don't speak to me like that. Just simply and directly stating a boundary is very effective. Now, depending on the person might back down, the person might just be quiet, or the person, if they genuinely didn't mean to offend, they may come out and apologize and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. Or even if they did mean it that way, but they have humility and are willing to own where they were wrong, they may even apologize to you. Now, in some cases, as I mentioned, they completely meant to disrespect you, and simply stating a boundary will not work. Or in some cases, there's an ongoing bullying situation. So that's when we get into my next tactics. Now, disclaimer, these are very, 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 very rude. So I do not recommend using them in relationships that you want to keep, because high chance you will not come back from that. Also, high chance you'll have an argument. So if you're not comfortable with that, do not use these tactics. Now, these next tactics I'm going to cover in a part 2. Part 2 of how to handle confrontation. Warning, like I said, these are rude. If you want mild, go back to part 1, because these, if you use them, chances are your relationship will not come back from that. So for example, I don't recommend using these with a friend if you still want to stay friends. I am a firm believer that it is a necessary skill to know how to be mean when needed. It shouldn't be your go-to all the time, but it should be a tool you have in your arsenal, because you need to know how to protect yourself against disrespect, and here are some ways how. So if you're not great with comebacks and you need a second to think, and somebody is clearly trying you, bullying you, whatever the case may be, one thing you could do is you could let out a big sigh. So it could be like, bonus points if you roll your eyes, or you shake your head, or you do something like, oh my God, or something like that. The reason why this is a trick I'm suggesting is because actually what it is you're taking a deep breath, but doing would look really strange in the middle of somebody trying you. So this is an easy trick you can remember. You can do it in public without looking stupid, and the best thing is it's just going to look like you're giving a ton of attitude. Speaking of giving a ton of attitude, when someone tries you, it's best to act bored or disinterested or even condescending. Now, it's easier said than done when emotions are high, because, it's dysregulating. It's like, especially if you're not comfortable dealing with confrontation. So this might take some practice, but if you can get to the point where you seem bored, you seem disinterested, that automatically puts you at the higher ground. That makes you look like the one with more power. Like, I'm going to demonstrate. So let's say the comeback you're saying is, you're stupid. You're stupid. You're stupid. Which person seems more powerful and in control? Person number 2, right? Yep, that's what you want. Another tactic you can use, and this is especially good if you have like a friend nearby you, or it could even be somebody that you don't know too well. In the middle of them talking, like let's say that they're trying you, and they're in the middle of saying something stupid, turn around and immediately start talking to the other person, like right in the middle of their sentence. Act as if they are not even there and completely start a separate conversation. They will look so stupid. Now, I'm warning you, this will probably enrage them, because it's making them look stupid. But it's a really good tactic to non-verbally communicate, yeah, you're beneath me, I'm not doing this. When someone feels disregarded, they feel belittled. And when someone feels belittled, oof, it cuts them to their core. Like they will get mad. Now, ideally, you want to learn how to talk back and give comebacks when necessary. So here's some phrases that you can use as kind of training wheels while you're working your way up to that. I want you to keep these in your back pocket. Shut the fuck up, fuck you, go fuck yourself, fuck off, and get the fuck out of my face. Why did I give you just basically a bunch of variations of the F word? Because they're universally offensive, so you don't have to worry about sounding corny while trying to look for a comeback. And the best thing is, there's really not much of a response to that. I mean, imagine you tell someone shut the fuck up. I mean, more than likely they're just gonna be like, you shut the fuck up. You know, like, there's not really much of a clever comeback to say to that for them to outsmart you like they could if you give a comeback and it kind of sounds weak and corny. Now, listen, when it comes to giving comebacks, I'll always applaud a weak defense over no defense, because at least you're attempting to stand up for yourself. But, I mean, in reality, you don't want to sound weak. You don't want to sound like an easy target, and you don't want to be easy to make fun of. So that's why until you're good with spouting quick-witted comebacks, I suggest relying on those phrases. But as I said, you want to be working on developing your comebacks, and one way you could do that, easy, practice in the mirror. I'm serious. Practice in the mirror at home. You want to do this because you're going to be in a calm, low-stakes environment. Because when you're in a calm environment, that's when your brain can think, and that's when your brain can come up with ideas. It needs practice. This is why trained fighters, they have to train. They have to be taught to fight, you know? Because when emotions are high, you can't think as easily, and you can't access your wit and your creative thinking as well, because your nervous system is dysregulated. So you want to, again, practice in a calm environment so that it becomes natural to you. Because what happens to people who are not good with comebacks and who are not used to confrontation is they become like a deer in headlights when someone does try them, and then they become tongue-tied. Comment below if it's true. You start stuttering. What you say comes out weak and corny sounding because your brain knows that you are not used to saying this kind of stuff, and people will be able to tell that it's okay, yeah, you're not confident. You're clearly not confident in what you're saying. You don't want that. You don't want people to be able to sniff out that you're unconfident. Some other tips. When you're having a verbal altercation with somebody, the rules of normal respect and normal back and forth in conversation do not apply. One easy way to assert yourself and assert dominance, cut them off while they're talking. You do not need to wait for them to finish speaking. It's an easy way to demean them, to make them feel like, no, I don't respect you. I don't care what you have to say. And another thing, and maybe this will sound controversial, but it is what it is. Like I said, being mean is a necessary skill. Listen, go for their flaws. Again, like I said, this is not a tactic that you're going to use with a loved one or any relationship that you want to maintain. But if somebody is making it clear that their intent is disrespect and that they don't care for you, then listen, sometimes the gloves have to come off. Sometimes when it comes to a bully, you have to speak their language. And if their language is disrespect, oh, well, go for the jugular. That's another way that you could practice comebacks, especially if you have somebody that's repeatedly trying you over and over. Think of their flaws. So that way, the next time they try you, you'll be ready. Like I said in part 1, handling confrontation is a read the room kind of thing. Different things call for different situations. So those are my tips on how to handle confrontation. If you're interested in content like this, or if you're already following me and you haven't yet, please subscribe to my YT channel. That is where I'm going, because I'm going to be so honest, I am not optimistic about this TikTok ban. I'm trying to keep up hope. I'm going to keep posting for as long as I can, but I am migrating to YT. Also, I have a special announcement. I am developing an online course to help people navigate social situations, learn the unwritten rules that they maybe never learned, and all of that stuff. So, if you're interested, please go to the link in my bio, and the first link you'll see is my website. Sign up for my mailing list. That way, no matter what happens to this app, when my course is finally ready to be released, you guys will be the first to know.